Welcome back, you beautiful bastards. Just to throw Jerry a looper there. This week,
Okay.
we talked to a person. I can't say her name. Jerry
It's pretty easy to say, Gris. It's Iike Demir.
It is. I kid.
Yeah.
I kid.
So Iike Demir was a fantastic guest, in my opinion. I mean, she's very, very knowledgeable. We were talking this week about deepfakes and AI, which, as we will discover in this episode and another one later on, there's many different kinds. In this case, it was, I don't know, what kind of AI are we talking about?
She was talking more about the AI of kind of like a procedural generation, like video games, movies, stuff like that.
So significantly different from Terminator.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, and I don't know if we're the norm. When I hear AI, I just think a robot needs to die.
That's kind of my thought too. But
maybe it's just because we grew up in the 90s and we're kind of fucking.
I did have a shit ton of interest going into this in deepfakes. And now I have even more interest in deepfakes. I don't have enough data on myself to put myself in anything, which breaks my heart.
He'd put his head on Keanu like immediately.
Yeah.
And beat himself to it.
She is an excellent source of information on deepfakes, AI, and procedural generation. We talk about movies too. We can't ever let that go.
Nope, never. So check it out.
What is happening, you beautiful bastards?
Alrighty. Thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. So we're pretty excited to talk about this this interesting topic that Andy and I know almost nothing about, and so it's kind of a combination of the things that you specialize in, which is deepfakes, AI, proceduralization, which we're going to act as the layman's here because that's pretty much what we are. So first, I guess. Yeah, it's probably a good idea to describe to our listeners what exactly this stuff is before we ask all these questions. So, what is a deepfake?
That's a good question. So, deepfakes are videos that are fake, that are generated by deep learning algorithms. And when I say fake, it's a little bit different than normal, like Photoshopped images, Photoshopped videos. So, for example, I'm talking here, but are you sure it is really me? Or someone else is like lip syncing me, like an image of me is animated like this. So I may be a deepfake. I'm not, by the way, just like I'm not. But deepfakes are videos or images where the actor or the action of the actor is not real. It may be the same person doing different actions. It may be completely different person. It may be completely different lips. It may be different face, but those are like deepfakes basically. And the difference of deepfakes with normal fakes is that they are done by deep learning algorithms, AI algorithms, specifically generative adversarial networks, which is a type of neural network architecture that is recent enough that we are more interested in this, and the proliferation of deep learning algorithms are like expanding all of those options of generating fake, like fake news, etc. But in the image domain, I believe our eyes more, these deepfakes are getting a little bit problematic.
I was gonna say, I think everyone's seen like the Tom Cruise ones, where he's doing all sorts of manner of things.
My experience with deepfakes so far is entirely positive because it's all on YouTube. My favorite one that I've seen, which maybe you've seen this one too, is someone took the school bus episode from Forrest Gump, and every person, even the little girls, were Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, of course you did that.
It was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. It was just Keanu Reeves all over the bus. But I guess I could see kind of
in
where.
The research world. Oh,
What's that?
sorry. In the research world, it's more about like I don't know why, but the Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
space swaps were the first one. So if you look at like the research articles, like all you see is Nicolas Cage with different faces, a
Yeah.
bit like as a dancer, as a singer, as a like pop star, like.
Yeah, so we love watching those aspects of deepfake, but I would imagine it can get pretty dangerous because I have also seen a fake Barack Obama video, which was, I think it was kind of done as an example, but it
Yeah.
was pretty convincing. It's still in the uncanny valley stage, I think, but I'd imagine we're not too far from it being totally seamless where I couldn't tell the difference, right?
Right, definitely. I think that was a research group making their case, saying that like Obama saying very bad things and saying that, well, this is a deepfake. So in those cases, it's just demonstrating what is happening. But there are also real world applications already blooming everywhere. So we have seen in news that like not with visual deepfakes, but like with synthetic voice. A CEO was $250,000 were taken because someone convinced the CEO that it was someone else, and because of that fake voice, they actually like just gave away $250,000. There is also like other cases that there was a Signal or Telegram bot, a bot where you send the image of whoever you want, and you pay, and you receive it as a nude. So whatever image you want, you can just like have the nude version of it, which is of course like more than 95% of it is females, and it was said like over 600,000 images were already processed. So this is like huge. Like it's not it's not ethical. It's not like even like I don't know. Like I can't describe it, but like those things are already happening. So we need deepfake detection approaches and deepfake prevention approaches, or like provenance approaches in the long term. But in the short term, what we can do is detection.
I was gonna say, is there even gonna be any sort of point where we can even stop people? I mean, literally the internet has very good things and very, very bad things, and it doesn't seem that we can stop anyone unless we live in China.
Well, that has always been the case, right? Like Rule 34 exists. So but now they are getting more realistic and more, I don't know, reaching out to more people, because like when the quality is not that high, then people are saying, oh, this is fake, that doesn't bother, like that's not that important. But now it is getting to forgery and impersonation, and like really like personal integrity of people are being damaged. So prevention, of course, there are like, I can't talk about the technical approaches. There's also like new laws coming there, new legislations about like what kind of deepfake is actually punishable and what are the punishments, etc. Like, like if you go back to the laws concerning these areas, like normal adult pornographic content is not really is not as punishable as like child pornographic content, right? But if you are using a generative model, like generative adversarial network, for example, the children does not exist. Like the generated children, the end result that is distributed does not exist. It's not real children. But to train the network, to train that algorithm to generate as realistic photos or videos, you need the ground truth data, which are real children. So in that case, like the content you are distributing is not real children, but that person needs to have that big data set of real children to create that. So is that really like whose fault? Like the creation, distribution, watching, like these are all blur areas right now, because it's not really the law and technicality is not really merged right now. But the more legislations and more things on the law side are coming to.
I would say that one seems pretty clear cut though, because I gotta imagine the law. I mean, whenever a new technology like this comes out, the law always takes a little bit. It's always lagging, but that one's a pretty clear cut that I imagine they'd nail down on that one. Child pornography is
Well, yeah,
never loved.
no, if you have CGI content,
Mhm.
then that's not punished. And this is not CGI,
Yeah.
but it is generated anyways, right?
Yeah.
So what is the difference? Like, because one of them is more generated, or because one of them needs real data, like
Mm.
that's where it is blurry.
Yeah.
So how long has this technology been widely available to the point where it's now starting to become a problem? I don't. I only just started seeing deepfakes like last year or the year before myself.
Right. The first the first generative adversarial network was published. The research paper was published in 2014 by Ian Goodfellow, I guess. But of course, it was just a research paper. It was not productized. It was not going into the dark corners in the web, So I would say like around 2017, they became popular, and because you also need computational resources to train those. Like you need like many GPUs, you need many realistic data sets to train these algorithms. They are not just formulations, or they're not just code, right? Like you need data and training and computational resources, and that didn't come with the original paper because it was taking so much time at that time. Resolution was very bad. The control over generation was very bad. And like around, I would say 2017, 2018, these became more democratized. So everyone started to create their own deepfakes.
Yeah, I actually looked into doing it myself because I think they're amusing, especially if they're used for entertainment. I just wanted to put myself into movies. So I downloaded the program because my computer is built for editing, so it could handle doing some things like that. And then I realized how much data that you needed to feed this thing for it to pretend that it's me. I just uninstalled it because I don't even have enough data of myself to do that. It's an insane amount of information, which kind of makes me wonder, if you need that much information to create it, what's it like to detect it when it becomes so seamless that you have a hard time figuring out if it's real or not? Is that also a ton of computational power?
Not really, because we can depend on different signals. So for deepfake detection, there are several different approaches. One of them is looking similar to our eyes, like looking at the video and trying to find if there's any artifacts in the image domain, which is maybe like inconsistent textures, or in the spectral domain, like looking to the image as a signal, right? In the frequency domain, is there like weird frequencies that doesn't normally occur in images, etc. These are less effective finding deepfakes, because deepfakes are also working in image domain. So although some of them like can blindly find it, there are actually better signals that represent us. So biological signals, on the other hand, is is a simple idea. So what makes my video real that is not replicated yet, right? And one of the signals in particular that we look is the PPG signals, photoplethysmography. Photoplethysmography, I know it's a big word, like I'm always having difficulty saying it, like PPG. Anyway, so PPG signals are basically your heart rate. So when your heart pumps blood, your veins change color and change in motion. And you can actually find it from the videos. Like you cannot see it with your naked eye, but you can see it computationally by looking at those like very little areas and trying to extract those PPG signals. And using those PPG signals and using their consistency, for example, like the PPG signal from my cheek is the same with this cheek, or my nose has the same, because as a person, you need to have the same heart rate everywhere. The pump is consistent. Like if it's the signal like this, it should be a signal like that in everywhere in your face. So we are using those PPG signals from 32 cells on the face and looking at their temporal and spectral correlation, and feed that information to a network. So back to your question, like when I say network, in the GANs, it's like deeper, like much, many layers of different kernels, etc., to generate them. But to detect them, actually, we are just using those like 3-layer network, very like compute efficient architecture. But our signal representation is very strong with those PPG signals. So that's how we can effectively find deepfakes. And of course, it's just one of the biological signals. There are many other biological signals that we look at.
That's amazing. I actually never thought that you'd be looking for basically, the same thing your doctor would be looking for to see if your video was real. Now, that's kind of blowing my mind here, but does that require AI, or is that just a set of parameters that have to be programmed and then they're searched out by the software?
Yeah, that's still AI. After we extract the signals, we convert the signals to PPG maps so that we can have the temporal and spectral features, all of them packaged in a map. And then we feed those PPG maps to AI so that we can actually help that AI system learn what is real, what is not. But the good thing there is that we don't need millions of videos of you specifically in real and fake environments. We just need many people, many real videos. And we actually have that, right? We have many databases, like it's not hard to have real data sets. And we have many fake data sets too. Like there are several research data sets, and we actually have an in the wild data set where we put together all like from YouTube, Twitter, without non-compression, without non-artifacts, without non-generators. That is why it's called in the wild in the research world. So we train on all of those data sets without specific people, without specific generators, and our AI system can learn to differentiate between real and fake.
And so they're both using AI, but what's like the big difference between a regular program and AI? Because we hear AI thrown around pretty much every day now. It almost doesn't have any meaning to average people at this point.
Yeah, AI is coupled with doomed scenarios, right? Like robot invasion or like bots convincing you that they are real. Like that's not the AI that we are working. We are working on like more innocent cases of AI. So AI is artificial intelligence, and in a bigger sense, anything that you teach to a machine can lead to artificial intelligence. And that teaching or that learning process, to be more precise, is defined in separate terms, where you said like software is more closer to traditional machine learning, where you do simple algorithms by clustering or by segmentation or like traditional kernel-based learning approaches. And these are not deep systems. These are algorithms that are implemented. They are still doing learning, but it's more unsupervised learning or supervised, but closer to statistics. Like I don't want to like make anyone mad saying that, but it's like mathematics, statistics, machine learning, deep learning, AI. So if you just like go from theory to more like, I don't know, complex systems, that is like the spectra. So AI is mostly like machine learning and deep learning. So I explained machine learning, but deep learning is where we have those complex systems, again coded, again software, but the parameters and the feature space that we're exploring is so high dimensional that we are not actually giving those parameters. We don't know which features we are looking. We don't know what makes up that distribution. In traditional machine learning, we kind of know the feature space. We know the dimensionality of the feature space. In deep learning, we don't know it is very high dimensional. So we are trying to lift all the samples, all the data into a very high dimensional space and try to find what we are looking for in that high dimensional space. Hopefully that's a good enough explanation, but I can go into details.
So Grizz, I keep cutting you off here. So why don't you ask what you're trying to ask?
I mean, even my worry there with basically figuring out if it is a deep fake or not, we've proven in the past 2 years that people don't even care if we're telling them scientifically what it is. if they choose to believe it, they're still going to believe it. I mean, what do we do there?
Yeah.
You know?
Same story with fake news. I mean, it is even easier to create fake news. You are just writing something out of context, out of time, out of people, and people, if they want to believe, they believe. So
yeah, I mean, that's my biggest worry is, you know, people who are aware of deep fakes and their you know, defenses are on alerts for them are going to be aware of them and notice it, but there's going to be a lot of people out there that it could do a lot of damage in many different ways if, I mean, even just getting out there, right?
Yeah.
Because they're just going to decide, yeah, no, I believe it. It's real. They're just telling me it's a deep fake because they don't want me to see it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
they figure it's deep state doing something.
Even if you personally don't want to believe it, maybe someone that you trust is actually tricked to share that. So saying that, oh, like that's from my cousin. He's never incorrect. So my cousin should be correct that I believe it in, but like it's not. So that actually pushes the society towards like social erosion of trust. Mm-hmm. So even wherever it comes from, whatever the source, even if it's a trusted or non-trusted source, you start not believing anything, even if it's the stamped truth. You are saying no, I lose my sense of trust. So that's a very, very, very bad situation and very like doomed situation. And that is actually not caused by technology, kind of.
No, not at all. And I mean, that's where my head went. I was like, well, if we're sitting there, is it going to reach a point where people don't trust anything they see? But then I was like, wait a minute. No, people are just going to go wherever way they want to. Which, I mean, that's a societal thing.
Our show, Grizz, is kind of based on not trusting anything you see. And so we're
like
skeptics,
science.
Really. we do like science. We like facts, but we are like when it comes to things like deepfakes, we're skeptics. Like whenever we watch something, we're like, that don't seem right. Let's talk about that one.
Well, usually as
we
a
want
human
people
being,
to think that way.
Yeah, I question everything, right? But as a human, I don't know about you guys. And now, right? And God knows it could be 6 months down the line to where they've perfected it so much. But right now, whenever I see one, my mind is telling me there's something off before I see anything else, right?
Yeah,
there's
that's
just something about it where you're like, but most of them are satirical, you know? So there's multiple cues. When is there going to be a one where it's not satirical and they're trying to frame someone or, you know?
Yeah, I guess in short, Iike, how far away are we from a really seamless deepfake where even somebody like yourself could watch it and not know without using a detection system?
I don't know. Like for me, the Tom Cruise ones were really realistic. And that's like, and that's for like the ones that we got amazed are with celebrities that we already have an idea about what they look like, right?
Right.
So, for example, with some of our presentations, I have myself have a deepfake version with Nicolas Cage's face on me, and like people that don't know me, they look at it and like she looks like Nicolas Cage, and they don't know that it is fake. And it was intentionally fake of me, but they don't know me. So anyway, so I think it's getting realistic. I think
so too.
And I think we need detection platforms. We need like some like secure platforms where we can query things and say that okay, this is fake, this is not.
And almost like a non-biased system.
Exactly. And we are actually going towards that. So it's not a product, but we a couple of weeks ago, we actually announced the world's first real-time deepfake detection platform. So while streaming, it actually gives you a confidence about like whether it is real or fake, saying that, okay, 80% I'm confident that this is a fake, or like 70%. And since it's online and streaming, it's real-time and streaming, it gives it to you in every 128 frames, which is like every 4 minutes, every 4 seconds or something like that. So if popular platforms, I don't know, where like YouTube, like wherever you are watching your videos from, if they can implement such detection platforms into their pipelines, then there may always be like a stand at the corner saying that, okay, fake, real, fake, like while you are watching, like imagine that there is like here, there's a like tick mark, like, oh, okay, this is Iike, this is really Iike.
Just be like your signal bar.
Yeah, exactly. Your reality bar.
Oh God, we've hit that point.
So is that something that we can access now, or like is it something that's going to become an app so I can kind of filter what I'm watching through it?
Right. It's not accessible right now. It's just a platform that we developed. You can like upload things and look there. But we are working with some big customers and media platforms, whether they can like how we can integrate it to their pipeline. So whenever we are watching a video from their platform, it will be saying that it's real or fake. But it's not out right now. Like let's talk about that in a couple of months.
Still though, I mean, the fact that you're working on it and it's in that stage is awesome. You know?
It is.
You got to get there ahead of the game.
Now, I just had a thought about, you know, because I asked you a couple minutes ago, how far are we away from this being totally seamless? And I just thought, what if it already is? And I had no idea. I've already been watching all these deepfakes. I have no idea.
Well, have you seen me before?
Never.
I was thinking we should all have Nicolas Cage's face when we put this out.
That would be fantastic. If only we had the processing power.
I would say too bad my computer would literally burst into flames.
So is the whole deepfake thing, is that related to proceduralization?
Well, if you look from a general standpoint, like deepfakes are created by deep generative models, and proceduralization is extracting generative models from 3D data. There is not much proceduralization for faces because faces are more organic structures, and proceduralization is more for rigid, non-rigid structures. So like for architecture, for man-made structures where you can explicitly see the patterns. Yeah, maybe like just like a textbook definition of proceduralization is extracting a grammar-like structure, like language, from 3D data, from any kind of 3D data. That can be volumetric representation, mesh models, CAD models, point clouds. So any type of 3D data, we can extract a grammar-like structure that shows the patterns. So if you have a wall with 3 windows, the proceduralized version will say that, okay, there is like window in a wall and there is a repetition, and the repetition has a 1 meter spacing, for example.
So have either of you heard of the video game No Man's Sky?
Yes, so, it is completely procedural.
So that's kind of where I was going with that, because like I said at the beginning, kind of off the air here, I have no idea really what proceduralization is. Like I understand basically like the computer's making stuff, but that's the extent of what I know.
I would say I always understood as the layman's. It's basically it's creating its own in No Man's Sky's world. It's creating its own world that it happens nowhere else within its universe. So it's just doing it on its own, creating it so it's unique to itself, and then it's doing it again and again and again and again and again as many times as it needs to. Have either of you played it? Yeah.
I played,
Yeah, so I played for a little while. I don't have a whole lot of time for video games. I did enjoy it, but I landed on a bunch of different planets, and they all had like the basic structure in common. So is that kind of AI too, where it's just using a set of parameters and then making things up as it goes?
Yeah, so the way that No Man's Sky is generated is procedural modeling.
Okay.
So it is the inverse of proceduralization. In procedural modeling, you have a grammar system that someone wrote by hand, saying that, okay, for every planet, 80% of it will be covered by rocks, and the rocks will have those little flowers on it, and the flowers will have like grid-like structure repetition. So every 9 by 9, you may have like randomly 2 flowers, etc. So this is like when someone designs that procedural system, that is procedural modeling. On the other hand, proceduralization is you assume you already have the planet, but you don't know which rule system created that planet.
Mm.
So extracting that rule system from the planet, saying that, I visited like 10 planets, and it was always like 75 to 80% covered by rocks. And on all the rocks, there was always a flower. So rock comes with flower. That's an association, etc. So like discovering or extracting that procedural system that designed the 3D data is proceduralization. That's why it's creating generative models instead of using generative models.
Yeah, it's like the reverse. So you're looking at an image and you're figuring out what the code was to make it in the first place.
Right. So when we're talking about that kind of computer system and the things they're generating with that, are we looking at kind of like the same risk factor as deepfakes, where they could potentially create entirely fake information and spread that again as fake news? We're coming back to that.
Yeah, like procedural modeling has been more used in computer graphics and creating 3D data, and of course you can texture it so well that it looks real. Actually, like in many live action movies, the destruction scenes are done procedurally. For example, like when I specifically remember, was it one of the most of the Doctor Strange things, the destruction scenes or like the warping scenes, etc. Those are actually procedural, and you believe that it looks like a building, right? It looks like some that there was some like explosion in that building, and those are all procedural, for example. So yes, they are already there. They have been already used in such movies, but not in a destructive manner. But they are destructing the building, but not in a like dangerous context.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I didn't realize they were using it in the movies already. So have you been involved in any movies doing what you do?
From afar, I didn't design procedural systems for movies, but I actually worked in Pixar, as you can see the volley here. So yeah, I did an internship at Pixar, and at that time, Coco was being developed, and I can securely say that like the buildings in Coco are actually procedural. I mean, it is computer graphic. It is an animation, so it is intentionally not believable. But if you remember the magical world of Coco, that was really, really expressive use of procedural modeling. Like you can say each building is the same style, but you cannot say that, oh, it is repeating 5 times, or it's like, it is.
It's not like video games of old where you saw the same bush every 5 feet or whatnot. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was like, if you look at video games back even maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, like Elder Scrolls, that was a good one. That had a lot of repetitive bushes.
But it would have maybe 10 different trees, 15 different trees, and they just put thousands of them out, you know?
Yeah, so I am a little more interested in the filmmaking aspect of this than video games.
It makes sense for the filmmaking, though, because, it's got to be easier for them, right? Because they can just say, hey, I need a town, and it needs to look, it needs to be within this parameter. I want it to be, you know, Eastern European or something, and they just there it is, and it's not a town that we've seen anywhere else, but it looks like it, you know, and it's done and it's already there, so it makes complete sense on their end.
Especially for driving games, most of the city building in 3D for the street view scenes, like when you are driving, those are mostly procedural modeling. And I remember papers from EA games that are like, they were saying that like, oh, like this city is completely procedurally generated, and the procedural engine has style variation. So it may be structurally or geometrically, it may be the same city, but they have style proceduralization. So it may look like France in one level or one like section of the game, but it may look like Tokyo in the other section of the game. It's just like the style parameters are changing. If you strike down all the style, the actual buildings are the same. So those are also different uses of procedural modeling.
So it's like the same building blocks, but different skins.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, do they still have to input all the skins, or because it's procedural, it does it on its own?
There's procedural texture generation aspect there. So you just give like building blocks, saying that like not building blocks, but like units of repetition.
Mm-hmm.
So you say that like, okay, Tokyo always have those like
Yep.
up spikes for the roofs.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Spain has those like
Yeah, the tile
orangish
roofs. Yep.
roofs. And those textures will be also created procedurally, but you are not giving the whole roof texture. You are just giving elements of it. Even
Mm-hmm.
you can give elements of dirt, elements of grass, elements of like mold or something like that, and arrange their repetition probability because they are all created probabilistically. So you like every 10 buildings, you actually have some moldy roof or something like that.
I gotta imagine this is why video games take up so much damn memory these days.
Yeah.
Like, because this has to take more computer power than just having a static level that you already built.
Actually, if you want to, actually that's one of the reasons procedural modeling is better, because if you are giving the roof textures, then you need to give thousands of roofs if you are not using procedural modeling. But if you are using procedural modeling, you just give the units, and there is the combinatorial space of those little things is exponential. So if you give just 10 of them and everything like can combine with everything, then and let's say we just have two textures, okay? You have 10 of them, 10 of this, and when you combine, you have 100 of these. Instead, like you are just giving two 10 by 10, but in the other case, you would be giving like all 100 of them statically when you are giving. So that's why like the memory requirements for procedural modeling is much less than the actual ones. Yeah, and there's also like more advancements on that. So the generation of textures are thrown to GPU instead of being generated on the CPU. So that's even much faster. Like you cannot do like on the fly texture generation. You can do on the fly procedural generation with the geometry, etc. So those are really nice advancements where the graphics just like jumped for the latest movies and computer games.
So bring it back to where we were for a couple minutes ago here, talking about the movies. What is volumetric filmmaking?
Oh, nice question. Oh, I love it. Thank you. So volumetric filmmaking. So in our traditional filmmaking, everything is in 2D, right? Like you have the camera goes everywhere. In volumetric filmmaking, we are actually making movies in 3D. What I mean by that is just assume a huge dome, 10,000 square feet dome that actors, everyone, horses, buildings, whatever are in.
Your whole stage.
And we have, yes, that's a stage. Yeah, whatever can fit into that stage.
Yep.
And we have 100 cameras all around the dome in a specific configuration. And all of them are recording at the same time. Then we take those all 100 cameras, simultaneous cameras, and create the 3D version of it. So just like a game, like in the game, you can like look from anywhere you want, right? Just like the game, we are creating the movie in 3D. So we shot it once, but the director can put the camera wherever they want because it's the scene is living in 3D. So you can look from everywhere. And what's better is that like we had the largest studio, which is like the really like historic moment in filmmaking, where we were doing like 3D volumetric movies for AR and for augmented and virtual reality applications. And two of our VR movies actually premiered in previous Venice Film Festival. So if you are curious, you can search for that. I think Here We Are is one of them. And Queer Skins Arc is the second of them. Both are done volumetrically, can be viewed in VR. And they are both like lovely shorts, lovely movies. So yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check those out. So like that would kind of, that sounds like it might be able to eliminate the need for like doing 30 takes just to get a bunch of different camera angles because it's already all there.
Yep, exactly. You can look from wherever you want. That's why, like, it's in VR, you as the viewer can look wherever you want. Like that reduces the maybe reduces directors. Actually, it's debatable. So in one way, it's leaving the viewpoint to the
viewer,
audience. But on the other way, how do you tell a story where you allow the audience to look wherever they want? Maybe like actors are here and the viewer is like looking here, right?
It's going to become more like video games. You know,
Yeah.
video games, you're still telling a story. It's just your character can be wherever the hell they want.
Yeah, I think it's a little more immersive in a video game than watching a film, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
more
mean,
interactive. Yes.
I'm sure people will still be going to it.
Oh yeah, I'll still go to the theater, but if I can put a VR headset on and be in the movie, I'm gonna do it. That's cool. I'll be watching. I'll watch The Matrix in VR, Andy.
Oh yeah, we should ask. Do you believe in a simulation theory by any chance? Because Jerry does, and it's awful.
So yeah, me doing like all those procedure modeling and simulations for forever, I haven't seen any artifacts around me. So I think that can, I think I could have caught some artifacts or some frame rate drops. You know, like I didn't.
See, told you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. We do seem pretty organic. I haven't had any real glitches in my.
You
Matrix,
haven't had any black cats and deja vu or nothing like that.
No deja vu that couldn't be explained. So I guess for now, Grizz, you win this round.
That's right.
So, considering how extensive your experience is, because you seem like you know quite a bit about this, how long have you been doing this? How'd you get into it?
I did my PhD in proceduralization, actually. Like my PhD is in computer science. But mostly our lab was doing computer vision and computer graphics. And I got interested in procedural modeling. It was so beautiful, but it needed like extensive like writing of the rules, knowing the details, etc. So we thought like, oh, why don't we? And there's like lots of 3D content around, right? Like if you look at like SketchUp, there are so many buildings, so many people like doing 3D modeling in a beautiful way. So if we can extract rule systems from those beautiful models, then we can create many of them with procedural modeling. So that's how I got excited in proceduralization. Of course, like then AI got much more available. We got more resources, we got more algorithms. Then instead of like traditional generative models, I went to deep generative models. At that time, I was a postdoc at Facebook. So at Facebook, we actually applied these algorithms in a different domain, which is satellite imagery. So can we extract procedural systems from satellite imagery? We looked at that problem a little bit, like structurally, we looked at it syntactically, like can we actually generate addressing systems based on just satellite imagery, just extracting the roads and neighborhoods from satellite imagery. These are all deep learning systems that we applied. And then I was also doing like 3D reconstruction because, you know, it's hand in hand, like generative modeling and 3D reconstruction. They are like complementary to each other. I worked in other places too, but like the generative modeling and deep learning with generative models are always dear to my heart.
So considering your love of that technology, it does seem a little scary to people who don't quite understand it. You think it's like a good idea, or should we really be acting a little more cautious here?
All advanced technology have its upsides and downsides, and it's
definitely
all humans' intention to use it how they want. I mean, it's like there was a good analogy to that. Yeah, I don't remember that. Sorry.
That's okay.
So like generative models are powerful, and they have always been used for good in like in CG, in computer vision, in games, etc. And now they are becoming like a bad tool. And as long as we are, I don't know, we educate people that not everything they see is real, and we educate and legislate people to not use it for bad, I think there's nothing to be that much afraid of. Like that the forgery and like tricking people have always been there.
Mhm.
This is just yet another tool that people will use for bad. And as long as we have our defenses, both like technical defenses as detection and provenance, and human defenses as not being tricked easily, are up, I think it's we don't need to plan for doom scenarios.
I think that our human defenses being up could be a little bit questionable right now. Yeah, we got
Always.
a lot of issues with fake news, especially going on with COVID. So I don't want to go negative with this. I totally support deepfakes, AI, all that stuff. I think it's fantastic. As a
My
consumer, I have no idea
curiosity,
how to do it.
yeah, my curiosity with AI is where is there going to be a point where we have, at least in my lifetime, where we have fully conscious AI, where it's just a computer thinking, doing on its own, and that'll be a very interesting time, very interesting thing to witness. I mean, we can't be that far off right now with everything we're doing.
Now, is that the same kind of AI, Iike?
No, it's got to be a little bit different.
I think, yeah, like generalized artificial intelligence is, I think, in my opinion, is still far, because like all of the AI systems that we are developing are based on context, based on task, based on that specific world that you provide.
Yeah.
It's not like everything in the world is possible and you need to have an idea and you need to infer things from everything around. That hasn't happened, and I don't think it will happen soon. I think we still have lots and lots, because NLP systems are going in their own, vision systems going there on their own, interaction systems like robotics, etc., going on their own, and like merging all of the sensory inputs in an AI system where they can combine these multimodal approaches and infer from them and get the context and then interact and provide output based on all those multimodal sensors are not possible maybe in our lifetime. That's my take. But yeah. Let's talk about that in 5 years.
I was gonna say, with the way technology goes, it could be like a week, and all of a sudden be like, "Wow, we were dead wrong." You know?
No, I think, like, for example, like autonomous driving is one of the areas that we spend most of the resources and like try to advance as much as possible. And it is just one modality, right? Like it's just like driving on the road based on visual inputs, or like based on visual and tactile, maybe.
And it still has issues with that.
Exactly. You haven't modeled all types of roads in the world. You haven't seen, like you as the AI system hasn't seen all types of weathers in the world, all types of crazy drivers in the world. And
Florida.
That's yeah. So
that was the biggest thing, I think, when Elon Musk was saying when he was working on it, the biggest problem that Tesla's going to have with it is going to be humans, because it can't predict us. It's just it can be off the wall. It's people wanting to mess with it.
Yep. And you cannot just like say human part is just the driving part. Like humans passing by may put the cones in, not like in the cone way, but like in the
they were doing that, weren't they? But they were moving cones to mess with Teslas, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. The human aspect is the biggest problem.
Exactly. In some parts of the world, the traffic lights are blue because some people put some filters on it. So what do you do in the blue traffic lights? So.
All right, so that's a pretty good place to end it. I think the future is looking pretty bright for AI and deepfakes. I'm looking forward to watching more Keanu Reeves in every movie. So Iike, thank you very much for being on. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you and more information that you'd like to share with them?
Of course. So the deepfake detection platform that I talked about is based on our algorithm called Fake Catcher. It's a catchy name, Fake Catcher. So you can search for it, and hopefully in a couple of months you may even see it online somewhere living, so that you can put all your Keanu Reeves videos into test whether fake catcher can find it as real or fake. Other than that, if you're interested in like AI in volumetric filmmaking or deepfakes or proceduralization, I have an ACM speaker page that you can search for like ACM Iike Demir, and you will find my ACM speaker page. And from there, most of the ACM chapters and universities and research institutions and whoever is interested can request to talk with me and like request me to give a talk to them, to their research audience. It doesn't need to be like research. It can be more like, I don't know, what is going on in AI world, deepfakes, etc., or like career advice, or like what is my humble path in where I am, or some like whatever you want, I can talk about, I guess.
Well,
Sounds
we
good.
we can put those links in for everybody to find so they can get a hold of you, because I think a lot of people are going to like you and what you have to say and the things you're working on. So we'll make sure they can get to you.
Yep. And remember to watch the VR movies that we made, AR and VR movies that came from Intel Studios.
All right, definitely. I gotta get a VR headset first.
Woo! Goddamn, Grizz. What the fuck just happened?
This isn't really me. This is my dog.
I'll never know, because deepfakes are pretty seamless.
And you said before this that there isn't enough of you out there. Dude, this is like show number fucking 45 or something. We have enough crap of you that we can put you.
No way. You need many hours,
Bullshit.
not just so that's what 45 to 50 hours of my face on the internet right now based on this show. Yeah, that's not enough.
No?
Actually, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
We'll have to ask Iike.
I don't know either.
I actually I really enjoyed learning about the deepfake stuff. It was not really what I expected, but kind of what I was expecting at the same time.
I thought it was cool that we brought in No Man's Sky into there. There's a bunch of games that use the procedural generation thing.
And a surprising amount of movies that I didn't even know.
Makes sense though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shit's
they just have one program and create a town.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot easier than paying some poor schleb to sit there and generate every single building.
And I mean, nowadays with TV shows, if you have a show going 8 seasons, 10 seasons, you're gonna want that.
I bet you Game of Thrones is procedural for the most part.
Fuck yeah!
Outside of the immediate set, yeah. I don't know. It's pretty cool shit, man.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining.
Well, let us know what you guys thought of it.
Thank you again for listening to Beautiful Bastards. New episodes every Monday. Remember to like and subscribe. Sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
If real is what you can feel, see, smell, and taste, then real is simply electrical signals being interpreted by your brain.
Welcome back, you beautiful bastards.